It's official. Gayle King files $25M lawsuit against Meghan Markle. http:/youtube.com/watch Veet slower EYAZXF8AJQ. This wasn't a whisper behind palace walls or a blind item buried at midnight. This was a nuclear detonation in broad daylight. Gayle King just accused Meghan Markle of blowing up her career for personal gain, and she wants $25 million for the wreckage. Nobody saw this coming, or maybe everyone did, and we just didn't want to say it out loud, because when this lawsuit landed, it didn't just rattle Hollywood, it exposed a power struggle so vicious, so calculated, and so personal that even longtime insiders are now asking the unthinkable, was this always how it was going to end? Let's be crystal clear. This isn't gossip wrapped in speculation. This is legal dynamite, filed in black and white, accusing Meghan Markle of something far darker than bad vibes or bruised egos. According to the lawsuit, Meghan didn't merely compete. She interfered, sabotaged, and allegedly poisoned the well behind closed doors, and Gayle King says it cost her everything. At the center of this storm, a career-defining media empire in the making. We're talking about a polished, elite, multi-platform project that had been years in the making. Primetime television, streaming expansion, a documentary arm, and the crown jewel, a seven-figure wellness partnership with a globally revered brand. Gayle King wasn't just the face of it. She was the architect, the executive producer, the trusted voice anchoring a massive cultural moment. And then, just like that, it all collapsed. No warning, no slow unraveling, just sudden silence followed by closed doors. According to the lawsuit, Meghan Markle allegedly stepped in the moment she realized how big this project was and how lucrative. The filing claims Meghan saw the scope, saw the sponsorship money, saw the influence, and decided there wasn't room for both of them at the top. It's OFFICIL_Gayle King files. What allegedly followed wasn't a pitch. It wasn't healthy competition. It was described as a calculated whisper campaign. Executives were contacted. Sponsors were nudged. Doubts were planted like landmines. Gayle King, a woman with decades of journalistic credibility, was suddenly framed as a liability. Not right for global reach, not appealing enough for British audiences, not aligned with the brand's new ethos. Read that again. A project that had survived years of development was suddenly deemed misaligned weeks after Meghan's alleged involvement. And here's where the temperature spikes. The lawsuit cites internal sponsor communications that reportedly reference direct counsel from the Duchess's circle, suggesting that staying aligned with Gayle King would hurt the brand's global reconciliation image. Let that sink in. Not criticism, not creative differences. Counsel. Within days, the network pulled out. The sponsor followed. The funding evaporated. The contracts disintegrated. And Gayle King left standing in the ashes, watching a career-elevating project die in real time. The lawsuit doesn't sugarcoat it. It accuses Meghan Markle of tortious interference, legal language for intentionally wrecking existing contracts and future opportunities. This isn't about hurt feelings. This is about lost millions, projected earnings, and long-term damage that can't be undone. And that $25 million figure, it isn't random. It's calculated down to lost seasons, canceled deals, and future revenue streams that will never materialize. But the most explosive part of this lawsuit isn't the money, it's the motive. According to the filing, Meghan viewed Gayle's project as direct competition, not just for viewers, but for something even more scarce: elite corporate sponsorship dollars. In a world where celebrity advocacy, wellness branding, and prestige storytelling collide, the lawsuit claims Meghan allegedly made a predatory move to eliminate a rival. Not collaborate, not coexist, eliminate. And suddenly, a chilling pattern begins to emerge. Because this lawsuit doesn't exist in a vacuum. It taps into a long simmering narrative that people have whispered about for years. A trail of burned bridges, vanished partnerships, and abrupt exits that always seemed unexplained. Until now. The filing describes the emotional toll on Gayle King, a woman known for her composure, as devastating. Industry perception shifted overnight. When a deal of that magnitude collapses publicly, people don't ask why, they assume fault. Doors quietly close. Invitations stop coming. The label of damaged goods sticks. And Gayle King, one of the most respected figures in media, says she paid that price. This lawsuit isn't just about recovering money, it's about vindication. Because if this case moves forward, the fallout will be brutal. Emails, texts, call logs, backroom conversations. Everything Meghan's team has carefully curated could be forced into daylight. Depositions under oath, executives subpoenaed, brand leaders questioned about who said what and when. Hollywood insiders are already calling it a potential bloodletting. For Meghan Markle, this isn't just a lawsuit, it's a direct hit to her carefully constructed image as a benevolent disruptor. The filing reframes her not as misunderstood, but as methodical. Not as a victim, but as an operator. And here's where it gets deeply uncomfortable. Gayle King and Meghan Markle weren't strangers. They ran in overlapping circles, shared stages, shared allies, shared smiles at high-profile events, which makes this allegation sting even more. Because according to the lawsuit, no amount of proximity or politeness protected Gayle when she allegedly became competition. Even the palace, far removed from Meghan's commercial life, is reportedly watching with unease, because the optics of a duchess accused of corporate backstabbing in a California courtroom, that shadow stretches far beyond Montecito. Meghan's response so far? A single-line denial. Baseless. Meritless. A reckless attempt to exploit media fascination. But those words didn't stop the narrative from detonating. Because now, the question isn't if this battle will get ugly. It's how much truth will spill before it's over. And as the dust settles, one thing becomes impossible to ignore. This isn't just a lawsuit. It's a reckoning. Because once Gayle King's filing hit the public sphere, something chilling happened behind the scenes. People stopped whispering and started connecting dots. This wasn't suddenly about one canceled show. It became about a pattern that for years had been explained away as coincidence, bad luck, or media cruelty. But now it had a legal spine. The lawsuit didn't just accuse Meghan Markle of interference, it painted a portrait of methodical transactional advancement. People weren't partners, they were leverage. And once leverage turned into competition, it allegedly got neutralized. That's what made this so radioactive. Because Gayle King is not some fragile newcomer. She's untouchable in ways most people aren't. Decades of credibility, impeccable relationships, a reputation built on trust. So when she says this happened, the industry doesn't roll its eyes. It leans in. And suddenly, a question no one dared ask out loud started echoing everywhere. If this could happen to Gayle, who else didn't survive quietly? Observers began rewinding the tape. The royal fallout, the scorched earth interviews, the monetized estrangements, the friends who vanished, the mentors who stopped returning calls, the staff turnover no one wanted to explain. Each moment, once isolated, now looked like breadcrumbs leading to the same door. The lawsuit alleges that Meghan didn't just sabotage a deal, she weaponized perception, that she understood the fragile psychology of corporate branding, where fear of backlash is stronger than loyalty, where one off-the-record concern can undo years of planning. And according to the filing, she used that knowledge ruthlessly. That's what terrifies executives. Because the lawsuit suggests this wasn't emotional chaos, it was strategy. This reframing hits hard because Meghan's public narrative has always been one of survival, of being under siege, of escaping oppressive systems. But Gayle King's lawsuit flips the script completely. It alleges offense, not defense, predation, not protection, power, not powerlessness. And that's why this case is so destabilizing. Because once you accept the possibility that Meghan isn't reacting but initiating, everything looks different. Those abrupt exits from high-profile deals, the philanthropic announcements that fizzled, the partnerships that launched with fireworks and died in silence. What if those weren't failures? What if they were aftermaths? The filing goes even further, suggesting that Meghan operates within concentric circles of usefulness, drawing people in, extracting value, then discarding or destabilizing once the equation changes. That's not ambition, that's extraction. And if that's true, then the people who ran away weren't dramatic, they were smart. Because Gayle King's lawsuit suggests proximity comes with risk. Hollywood thrives on trust, on quiet handshakes, on knowing that today's ally won't torch tomorrow's deal. This lawsuit accuses Meghan Markle of breaking that unspoken code. And once that perception sets in, it's nearly impossible to undo. Lawyers get stricter, clauses get longer, emails get colder, deals take longer, or never happen. That's the invisible damage no PR statement can fix. And here's the most brutal irony. Meghan's entire brand has been built on the idea of empowerment, collaboration, and lifting voices. But this lawsuit alleges she allegedly crushed another woman's platform to secure her own. Not accidentally, not indirectly, but intentionally. Which is why the optics are devastating. Because Gayle King isn't just suing for money. She's forcing a character trial. Every discovery request, every subpoena, every deposition threatens to expose how influence is really wielded behind curated Instagram quotes and carefully staged speeches. And if this case goes the distance, there will be no spin strong enough to contain it. Because once emails are read aloud in court, context evaporates. Once call logs are time-stamped, excuses thin out. Once executives testify under oath, narratives collapse. That's why this lawsuit has people panicking quietly. Not because they hate Meghan, but because they fear what comes out when power meets paperwork. And Meghan knows this. Her denial was sharp, brief, and defensive, the language of someone preparing for war, not reconciliation. Because this isn't a PR crisis, it's a credibility crisis. And the most haunting part? Gayle King's lawsuit doesn't portray Meghan as chaotic or reckless, it portrays her as precise. And precision is harder to forgive, because chaos can be excused, trauma can be sympathized with. But strategy? Strategy implies choice, and that's where public opinion begins to harden. The victim narrative, once unassailable, now collides with the plaintiff who doesn't fit the villain role. Gayle King is respected, calm, and devastatingly credible, which leaves Meghan in a position she's never truly faced before, not defending against critics, but against someone the industry trusts more than her. That's why this lawsuit feels like a turning point, not because of the dollar amount, not because of the celebrity names, but because it finally gives shape to something people have sensed for years, that maybe the chaos wasn't following her, maybe it was emanating from her. The court will decide the legal outcome, but in the court of public opinion, something irreversible has already happened. The story has changed, and no matter how this ends, one truth now feels unavoidable. Gayle King didn't just file a lawsuit, she pulled the curtain back, and what's standing there isn't a fairy tale, a survivor story, or a misunderstood duchess. It's a woman accused of playing a ruthless game, and finally facing an opponent who refused to stay silent, refused to stay silent, refused to stay silent, refused